A?
Trebeek. You know, he's fucking Canadian.
Fuck it, Trebek.
Fuck it, Trebek.
Fuck your mother.
I'll choose the rapist for 500.
Penis mightier.
Yeah. And the waitress, your mother.
I was looking for Bow Wow or Rough. The way your mother likes it. Anyways. Alright, gentlemen. So we've got a long night ahead of us. Be prepared to waste a perfectly good hour or so on a conversation.
It's never a waste when you have beer.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, good point.
Speaking of beer, this is a little shout out to Ray from a CMU graduate.
Fire up, Chips.
Yeah, CMU is now starting a beer making program.
What?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
You can get a degree in fermentation science.
Well, I believe it's a certificate. It's not a degree.
Thank you. A certificate in fermentation science.
That is awesome.
What about cementation science?
You know, it's a good certificate, though, you know, unlike a certificate from, UTI?
Urinary tract.
Have you seen that college? That's a real college. Have you seen this?
No.
There's commercials for it, man. You can go there and learn, auto repair or auto repair.
Wait, isn't that
auto repair?
Isn't that where your friend works at?
Yeah,
down in Arizona.
Didn't Bob go to the UTI?
Doesn't he teach at UTI down in Arizona?
No, I believe he got a job with
MTI.
Harley Davidson now.
MTI.
MTI. Well,
UTI means urinary tract infection, but it's also the Universal Technical Institute. Commercial's smart, dude. I've seen the commercial 30 times, and I laugh every time I hear it.
So what they're banking on?
There's a lot of really. I remember a few years ago. Oh, I was probably in high school or maybe just joined the Navy when Star Trek Enterprise with Picard was real famous. That was the big, for Trekkies, that was the big show for them. And there were universities offering philosophy degrees in Trekism or something like that, and you could get a degree, or maybe not a degree, but a concentration or something like that, in Starfleet Academy or some crap. I don't know. But what do you guys think about, universities, especially public universities, where there's tax dollars going into this and tuition dollars into these very highly specialized, maybe not very useful degrees or certificates?
Well, as an English major, no, seriously, I think people want to be experts in something, let them be experts in something. Who are we to say whether a certain type of education has value? These Star Trek experts might want to be sci-fi writers or something, there's something that is meaningful for everybody,
Well, I know a concern that the government has recently come up with is that a lot of universities have these really, unique and specialized degrees instead of these very generalized degrees, and it's becoming harder and harder for graduates, people who graduate with a bachelor's degree, to find jobs in those fields that they got their degree in, and they're beginning to punish universities who have these high rates of unemployment, if you will, 6 months, 12 months out of graduation, by cutting their funding, by cutting the amount of financial aid they get.
The reason college graduates can't find jobs is because the majority of good jobs have been moved overseas. It has nothing to do with anything else, as far as I'm concerned. If you grew up in the 50s to the, 70s, 80s, you could graduate from Garber High School in Essexville and go get a job at the GM plant across the street and make a wage large enough to own a house, support your children, and your wife didn't have to work. Now, you graduate with a bachelor degree, and it doesn't matter what the fuck your bachelor degree in. you're gonna struggle finding a job. The only reason that I've been able to flip flop jobs and make a little money here and there is I do jobs that nobody else is willing to do.
Yeah.
Like nobody else wants to teach at a psych ward or prison, but I don't really give a shit, you know.
Yeah. I don't know, Al. What did you go to school for?
Journalism with focus in graphic design.
And you got a job in that. How fast did you get a job in that?
I got a job the second that I walked out of high school. I worked at the newspaper. I graduated, and 2 weeks later, I was at the paper.
Oh, so you had the
See,
job
Al
while
has
you were
what-
going to school?
Al has what you call a skill.
Yeah,
A lot of people don't leave college with a actual skill.
This is gonna really disgust you guys, but I've never even created a resume ever in my life. I have no. I would if I know. I was where I was, and then the guy who hired me initially, he started his own thing, and he says, "I'm gonna come get you," and he says like, "You come and work for me now, and you can stop working for them." And I'm like, "Okay, when do I start?" And I just pretty much went over and started working for him. So I have in my mind, I kind of know what I'm gonna do next too. Instead of working for and having a bunch of clients like we do now, I'm gonna probably narrow it in and pick one of them, you know, down the road. Just work with that one as their designer, just specifically for that one. So I knew what I was gonna do. I'm weird like that. When I was in the 5th grade, my mom and dad, they thought I was nuts because they what are you gonna do when you grow up? I'm like, I'm gonna work at the Bay City Times. They're like, oh, that's adorable. Really though, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I'm gonna work at the Bay City Times. I went to high school guidance counselor. What are you gonna do when you're done with high school? I'm gonna work at the Bay City Times. And they were like, okay, yeah, that's ambitious to do. So, but I've been putting publications together, designing graphics, doing stuff since I was like my 6-year-old day. I mean, since I was 6 years old, really young, and just doing the same kind of stuff. So they thought I was nuts when I was in grade school. They thought I was nuts when I was in high school, and then when I graduated and I went and worked at the Bay City Times, they were like, what the hell? How the hell? What?
And now you got a fucking softball field in your backyard.
No,
Yeah.
and I have an Iron Man mask.
Yeah.
I have an Iron Man mask back there. So I knew what I was going to do when I was really young, and I just kind of made it happen. So
See, that's a problem a lot of today's youth. Well, I don't think it's just today's youth. I know I struggled with this in college as well. Is I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. You know?
Zach, you're still
I
in
still don't
college.
know what I want to do.
Oh yeah, that's right. I still am in college.
the saddest part about what happened when I was when I got my job at the paper was I'm like, yeah, sweet, I'm set. This thing's been around for 120, 130 years. I'm like, I got the job. I'm gonna have for the rest of my life. I'm in the community I want to be in. I'm around the people I want to be in. And then the internet comes along and totally screws it up, you know. So I had to shift my thoughts really quick. But it was just I like to do a multitude of different things. I like to do the audio stuff. I like to paint. I like to draw. I like to do graphics. I like to I have a lot of avenues that I can go down. So, there you go. Yeah, I like girls. I like women. I like brunettes. I like large boobs and small boobs. It's a whole thing.
How about three boobs?
I like when they're passed out.
All right, I'm getting derailed here. Yeah. So this is a problem. Oh, go ahead, Wally. Sorry.
I just had one technical question. I got this Hangout toolbox. How the hell do I close the right side of it and get rid of it?
There should be a little arrow up there.
Yeah, that adds a whole nother.
You're right. It does.
That box is popping out on the right, correct? If
Maybe
you
I'm
hit
just.
Is that box really distracting you that badly, Wally? You can hit the little square and it'll expand your window too and make it twice as
Well,
big.
what I figure is if I get rid of this square, you're on the left side of my screen, so if I get rid of the right side, it'll expand and maybe your face will go off the left edge of my computer. I don't know, just checking.
I don't know, dude. Mine is on too, and I don't know how to get it off either.
Yeah.
I can't find where I saved my blood boilers
Oh,
over there. That's what I've been looking for.
Wally, go back to your your left-hand margin where the icon actually is, and click it again, and it goes away. All right. So, Ray, you're kind of working in your field, and the reason, and Wally, you're not so much working in your field. I'm not really working in my field either. I mean, I am teaching in my field, but it's not it's not the degree I actually got in undergrad. And a lot of people when they graduate, they're not getting these jobs that they think they're going to be able to get with their degree, and now the government has decided to punish, and this isn't just Obama. Actually, George Bush proposed this, but it didn't pass legislature, and Obama picked it up, and it did pass legislature now. But now they're going to punish universities that don't have high graduation rates, high low loan default rates, and also people aren't in their actual career. So you're going to get punished if you're not in your career, or not you, but the university. You're going to get punished if your students default on their loans, and you're going to get punished if it takes them too long to find a job. I think
or UTI.
Yeah. Well, I think what's going to happen is. Go ahead. Sorry.
Do I get any kickback from that?
Well, I mean, what's going to happen is universities are going to stop offering these specialized programs like this beer certificate. They're going to say, you know what, we can't risk these unique little things. We're only going to offer a math degree, and it's just going to be math. And we're only going to offer an English degree, and it's just going to be English. No such thing as journalism. No such thing as creative writing. It's just going to be, or children's lit. It's just going to be English.
Is that what's going to suffer though? Because like Al was saying, he got his job straight out of high school, never wrote a resume, but he probably had a body of work he was able to show people that wanted to see it. And if you get your certificate from CMU in graphic design or IT, then what they're going to look for is some way for you to prove that you actually know what you're doing. So, aren't we more at risk of our universities becoming certificate mills over some of those specialized degrees where you actually have to know your shit in order to pass and graduate?
Well, what I'm wondering that may happen, but what I think might happen is universities will just offer generalized degrees and no longer the specialized degrees.
How do you specialized degrees make it harder to graduate?
Well, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, because they're not really worried about the graduation rates. What they're going to say is, okay, anyone who wants anything in kind of writing or communications, you're actually getting an English degree, and that's what we're going to call it. That way, when you go out and get a job in, say, communications or creative writing or publishing or something like that, that's in the field of English, so therefore you got a job within 6 months in your field.
I mean, they could go that route, or they could probably go. They probably might open up a separate department as a placement office, where they're going to teach the students what their career is going to look like when they get out of school, in an effort to deter them from going into that direction. You know what I mean? Because schools don't have that right now. Schools are just banking on the fact that you're going to get a degree and say mass communications, and then bank on the fact that you'll probably come back to the school because you can't find a job.
They're going to bank on the fact that you're going to get student loans that pay them, and they don't give a shit after that.
Right, it's true. But that's what I mean. By having a department in there that helps facilitate the knowledge that students need to understand the career paths that they're getting into, whether or not they're marketable or not.
Well,
right now, I'm actually getting a degree in distillery.
That's a good point though, Wally, you made about the they don't really care, and I think up until recently they haven't cared. And one of the articles I posted on Wunderlist here said that default rates prior to 2009 was only 6%, Student loan default rates were only 6%. Now, since the recession, it's up to 12%, which is pretty high. And for for-profit schools like UTI and Phoenix and places like that, it's actually 19%. So that's a huge problem.
You know, I was 30 days away from making that list because when I'm dead serious too. Because when I applied for grad school and was accepted, I quit paying my student loans because I knew, like, in a few months I was going to be able to get the deferment when they could prove that I was in school.
Right.
So I literally, like, I just didn't pay my bill for a couple months, and I think I was like 2-3 months away from being in.
Consider a default.
Yeah, in default. That was the word I was trying to search for.
Yeah, and so now what the government is saying is we're going to punish universities who have high default rates because what they're probably doing is educating people in degrees that they can't find jobs in.
Well, and there's all these fucking culinary institutes popping up on every strip mall.
Well, because the Food Channel has tripled their viewership in the past 5 years.
Yeah, you graduate and you get a job at Applebee's making $9.50 an hour. You know, like, fuck you, fuck you, UTI. I'm not paying for my culinary degree.
There's one thing I do. It bums me out that I'm not doing. I could have gotten a job in my degree if I wanted to move to like somewhere shitty, and work for pennies. But it's not like it's totally been useless because I'm not ignorant of,
the bigger picture in life.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, what's going on, which is pretty helpful.
My career field is completely saturated, and in fact, so much so that now companies are expecting students to work for free for a certain amount of time before that they can, like, as a trial basis, so that they can get them, so they can get an idea of what type of art that they could produce. And if they don't like you, then they can pitch you. It's like it's frustrating as hell, man.
Yeah, but I know a few. So what it sounds like you're describing is kind of like an unpaid internship.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And
but they don't call internships.
I know a while ago it was the buzz in education that they were going to try to move away from these internships and actually start true apprenticeship programs, much like how the trade jobs have these apprenticeship programs, and actually start this for things that are traditionally 4-year degrees. And do you really need, because like Wall Street, a lot of the bankers on Wall Street and everything, they just have their finance license, and you don't even need a finance degree to get a finance license. And once you have this license, you can go trade on Wall Street and make millions of dollars with no college degree. And so they were saying, well, what is the value of some of these college degrees? Could we maybe just create this apprenticeship program so where it's on-the-job training? We pay you at a reduced rate of what we pay our normal employees, but not that much reduced. And after 2 years, you become a journeyman in this field. Maybe you become a journeyman graphic designer, or you become a journeyman teacher, or you become a journeyman nurse, or something like that. I don't know.
Well, that's the way it should be.
That's the way it was historically. That's the way it was historically when you wanted a career outside of like agriculture or farming on your own farm. You went and you apprenticed for somebody.
That's a lot of what I was doing too. I mean, I was kind of thrust into it, and the daily deadlines and things like that. That was really tough to get used to. I mean, I was so young. I was only 18 years old. Going in here, here's what we need. You're doing these graphics. You're doing this. This is for this day. This is for that day. This and that. You kind of just got tossed into the fire, and you definitely learned along the way, which helped greatly. So I can see where that would be very beneficial because you're doing it.
Isn't that how a lot of jobs are, though? I mean, you get thrown to the flames, and you either succeed or fail, And whether you have a specialized degree in that field or not, like, actually putting it in practice most of the time is a different story. And I think that's where some people succeed and some fail. But, like, one of the articles I posted on WonderList was talking about how the middle class hasn't had a raise in 15 years.
Right.
Just on that note, I'm doing the same job I did when I was 19, and making the same pay.
Ouch.
Prime example.
That
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
But that's the reality for like so many people in this country, though. Like that's by far not like a rarity. I mean, how many people do you know that had these killer jobs, and next thing you know, they might be assembling something or pushing a broom or just doing whatever they got to do, back to waiting tables and bartending and shit.
As far as pay scale goes, there was definitely a peak that I was at, and then when the papers kind of took a crap, they made cuts like crazy, and that was one of the biggest things. Once the cuts they made happened, I was like, okay, the hours better get better, and the hours got crappier, and I'm like, okay. I had my ideas of where I wanted to go and stuff, and it just happened.
Yeah.
My
Well, when I first started college, I wanted to be a photojournalist, like hardcore. Like that was, I immersed myself in photography and shit. And then I started looking at what they make, and it just scared me away. And actually, like, if I was really gonna go that route, like, if I was smart, maybe I could have did graphic design or something and made it go of it. But photojournalism, like the blogs took over all that shit. Like people can't.
GW
really
could have
make
got your head lopped off in the Middle East, though. Come on, man.
Yeah, that would have been sweet. At
Then
least
I
I'd be
would
on
have had to
YouTube
grow a
forever.
beard and go on the inside and then just like kill them all while they're eating.
Notice it says ISIS campaign advisor.
Yeah, you always see these real, like, if you ever watch one of those National Geographic documentaries with a photographer, and they like refuse to carry weapons when they're like crawling around with lions or terrorists and shit. Fuck that, dude. I'd be.
I can just see I can just see the 2020 on Skull Wolraven's American friend was beheaded by ISIS, so he decided to go on the inside. Grow a bad beard.
Stockholm syndrome, man.
I already know how to go down on a rug, so I mean.
You guys know what the lesson here is, okay? The lesson here is, hey, you guys, we all just, the lesson here is, we got to pull a page from J-Mac and just get a sugar mama and call it good.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you,
Yeah.
he's really performed that exceptionally.
Yeah.
I know you texted me
went
twice
from,
talking about how nice the yard was. They got like a
went from
quad or what?
He went from a one-room bachelor pad to like a fucking estate.
Hey, he went from my house, so let's not bash it too bad here.
Yeah. He had a super large couch to sleep on, and
I'm sure his room was a bachelor pad, Zach.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we're kind of walking right into this.
Oh God.
The ISIS situation over in Syria now. So recently, the United States has not just started bombing in Iraq, where ISIS got its sort of start, but now we're bombing in Syria. This opened the door very conveniently for President Obama to officially start bombing in Syria. What do you guys think about that?
Didn't we in the past like as a ginormous amount of like internet people like voice our concerns about going into Syria in the first place? Now
Yeah, that's
here we
how it
are
gets
going back
around
into
that.
Syria.
That's how he gets around that.
Yeah, we got in the back door of Syria. Woo woo. You know,
It's
it's
college kids like rally and register to vote and vote for a president who's going to pull all our troops and military out of Iraq.
who
Yeah, he did.
also
He just
won the
moved them
peace-
across the border.
who also won the Nobel Peace Prize before he was even president. You know?
Yeah, while he was expanding the war in Afghanistan, he won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
It's good
I
to know
think he's-
everything can be turned into a giant fucking joke, like even the Nobel Peace Prize is a giant fucking joke.
Well, you know what, guys? I think we're putting the blame on the wrong guy. It's pretty much the bankers that rule our country.
But,
Don't
one
worry,
last thing
Hillary
about the
Clinton.
Nobel Peace Prize is Yasser Arafat also won the Peace Prize.
That is true.
But he's
Yeah.
peaceful. He's dead now.
The silence after a good suicide bombing, you know, that's true
Yeah.
peace.
Yeah, this is I don't know. I think this is kind of problematic. It's what we're gonna end up doing is actually helping the Syrian government. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but the Syrian government was saying for the longest time, these rebels are terrorists. These rebels are part of Al Qaeda.
Turns out they're terrorists.
Yeah, it turns out they actually are. But we didn't believe it until it started happening in Iraq, a territory that we thought was under control, that we were controlling, and then now,
Which, by the way,
Didn't believe it though. Come on.
by the way,
We knew it. We knew exactly who these people were.
Oh, of course.
We had them. They sat with John Kerry in the White House. Like, we knew who these people were. We are trying to start a state of perpetual war over there because we have a military-industrial complex.
well,
Yep.
that's besides
Just
the
like we
fact.
covered last week.
Obama could have kept 5,000 troops there if he wanted to, but that wasn't what his political cronies who voted for him wanted. So he did it. But if he'd have kept 5 grand troops there, they would have never crossed that border. They'd have been vaporized.
Obama
Yeah,
is George Bush light.
That's
It's all one
that.
giant.
What happened? Well, what happened in Iraq is a clear and absolute fact of American politics. That's what happened. He wanted all the troops out there to look good. He should have kept 5 grand in there with that equipment, and we could have vaporized those bearded bastards as soon as they came across the border. But politically, it wasn't expedient. What happened in Iraq was voted for by the American public. I mean, that's pretty much beyond discussion.
Well,
you know?
but the reason it was a knee-jerk reaction to how horribly the Iraqi war was handled in the first place.
Well, sure, but you
and
don't
so-
have to take all of them out.
Right, but
know.
the American public was already just tired of the Iraq war. If we would have
Some of
gone
them.
in, if Ashcroft
It
and
lasted longer than a Friends sitcom, you know?
Oh
Like,
God! Don't say that guy. Don't say that guy's name, please. That's like
Ashcroft, you don't like him?
Oh my God!
Ashcroft.
So
How is that
Ashcroft,
guy
you don't want us
still
to say Ashcroft at all? But
Missouri.
so if this guy,
What was that?
if these idiots, it sounded like a cat. If these idiots would have just instead of the 130,000 troops that they originally sent in, if they would have sent in 500,000 troops right from the start, we would have wiped everything clean. We could have
Yep.
secured the borders instantly
Yep.
with no problems, no foreign fighters coming into Iraq, stirring up the mess for another 10 years.
Yep.
We could have cleaned this mess up instantaneously within weeks. And
You know,
and then we could have left a contingent force of 100,000, which would look really small compared to the 500,000 that we originally put in there.
you know, there's
and-
really 2 countries in the world. There's America and there's not America.
Yeah.
If we just carpet bomb not America, then, there would be no more war left in the world.
That is true. Non-America is pissing me off, especially northern non-America, up by our neighbors to the north here.
If they could just get rid of
Yes,
hockey, there'd be world peace.
Anything I don't trust. You know?
But that's true though. I mean, like it might literally, besides Vietnam's pretty rough, but like that might be one of the second behind Vietnam biggest American debacles in military history.
Oh yeah.
Is not putting in 1 million to 500,000 troops. I mean,
Yeah.
just
Well, you know,
idiots.
And we had the troops.
Kill
We
them.
could have
These are the
done
people
it.
we should
so.
kill. Why don't we kill these people? I'm serious. Why don't we take the people who are in power then and kill them? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they killed so many people needlessly. Why don't we kill them?
And they look, and when you look at our numbers, they actually don't look too bad. Like only about 8,000 troops have died since the Iraqi and Afghanistan war, right? However, that's our side. If we actually look at the civilians in Iraq and in Afghanistan, it's closer to about 300,000 people.
And the thing is 3,000 Americans died in a terrorist attack, so we killed 9,000 or 100,000 people from some other country that had nothing to do with it.
right. Yeah, and
You know?
Well, don't say they had nothing to do with it. They're Islamic.
No, they weren't Islamic. Saddam Hussein actually was an enemy of Al Qaeda. and would hunt Al Qaeda himself.
No, wait a
was a
minute. I
badass.
thought he had planes to train them on. That's what George Bush told me.
Yeah, he also ordered these aluminum rods from Nigeria, right?
Yeah,
That
the
could only be used
aluminum
for
tube.
vacuum cleaners or nuclear weapons.
Well, those are centrifuge tubes.
You know what was funny? It said Hoover right on the side of it, so I don't know why they were confused.
Well, it turns out they filled them with black powder, put them under the road, and killed our guys with them. You know who we should be at war with is Iran. They've been killing our troops for how long? And we do nothing.
Iran's our new
nothing. They
ally. They're
killed.
going to fight ISIL.
They killed so many American troops, and we do nothing. We should nuke the shit out of that place.
Well, they're backed up by Russia. That's the only reason we're not.
Well,
They
let's
have
nuke
the
the
support-
shit out of them, too. But seriously, they've killed so many of the people we've seen on TV or known, or injured people we've known, and we do nothing. They're so impotent. We should be bombing the shit out of the biggest terror organization on the planet. That's them. And we do nothing.
You know, but then, Wally, I'm hearing sort of, and I'm not trying to call you out on this, but in a way I am. I hear this hypocrisy that, you know, we should be not involved in anyone else except for the United States, but we should also bomb the shit out of the Middle East.
Not the Middle East, just the Persians.
Just
The other Middle East, they'll kill each other. We should just stay out of it and let them murder
you know,
each other like
the
we're doing now.
In reality, though, the majority of Iranian citizens are fairly liberal compared to the rest of the Middle East, and if we were to help stage a coup or a revolution in that country, a kind of more liberal compared to the rest of the region government could take place with like a majority of the people's support.
But
That's a folly. That's folly.
yeah, you know, that everyone thought that about Egypt too, and when the Arab Spring passed through Egypt, they ended up getting a very conservative dictator in there, or not dictator, but a leader in there who had to be overthrown by his own military because he wasn't secular
Dictator.
enough. You know,
Not only
and-
that, like
The guy's a blip in the history book, so man, you
in
gotta
Iran-
just let Egypt see what Egypt's gonna do.
But I mean, in Iran, the Ayatollah is so powerful that even if we, and their influence is so far spread that even if we wipe them out, you know, and take the Ayatollah out of power, there's going to be a religious uprising. You know,
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
Scott was advocating for killing them all. I was just saying, what if we just killed the
a few of them.
yeah,
Well, that's just
30%,
I'm just
you know?
talking about easy. But you know, if there's some quote unquote, that's the real fun part of the organization. Oh, let's support a Twitter uprising in Iran. Okay, well, guess what's going to happen? The Al-Quds Force, which is the maniac army that's been created inside of Iran, they're just going to murder those people. There's not going to be some, hey, let's vote for this guy. They're just going to murder the shit out of the people who don't agree with them. And there's hundreds of thousands of these soldiers.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's not like they don't exist. Like,
And back to my
Hey,
original
Twitter
point, I was just trying to stir instability in the region.
well, that's why I figure if you murder them all, you're going to take out most of those guys too. You know.
Excellent point.
But I mean,
I wanna get back to the-
bombing, you know.
I want to get back to the point, Scott, that you made about hockey, and if we
was
would just
valid.
get rid of hockey, it would solve a lot of the world's problems. I want to point out our Wonderlist article that I have here about the city of Detroit and how they are building. Oh, I actually may not have put it up here. I thought I did.
Oh, it's up there.
I heard about it though.
The city of Detroit, the $650 million hockey arena / community that they're shopping
New-
community and
You mean New
like an-
Detroit? New
yeah,
Detroit.
like pretty much a new Detroit, and what their goal is to connect the downtown to the midtown. That's what they're
Wait.
going to do.
Where did Detroit get $650 million?
From
Actually,
the Ilitch family, the people that own the
Pizza.
Red Wings, and
Well,
don't they own the
little
Tigers
kids wanna
too?
Pay for it, let them.
They're
Well-
actually erecting a statue of RoboCop.
He said
there.
erecting.
Tried to say erect.
There was like a big internet fundraising thing for the
I tell you,
RoboCop
when I
statue,
got
right?
jumped in Detroit, I wouldn't have minded a RoboCop because the real cops did fucking nothing.
Hey, they brought you back to the hotel safe and
Oh
sound.
no, they didn't. That was the bus driver. I
It
called
doesn't
the
help when you
cops.
call 191 to try and dial them.
I called them the next day and they did nothing. They're like, "What do you want us to do?" I'm like, "You're the fucking cops." You know.
I'm white. Fucking dust your fingerprints or something on my fucking forehead.
Yeah. So, Illich is putting up some money. He's not putting up the whole $650 million. The other, a big portion of it is coming from the city itself, which means taxpayers are funding a big chunk of this. But they break ground tomorrow. Tomorrow's the big day that they're going to break
Yeah,
down.
apparently Detroit's coming out of bankruptcy now.
Yeah,
Oh.
but that doesn't mean they have money. You know, just
No,
because just because I paid off all my credit card bills doesn't mean I should go rack up all my new credit card bills. You know?
Well, they're just gonna sell a bunch of people into slavery.
Yeah.
No, you're getting it all wrong, guys. All the illegals that are coming up here are going to be working,
Oh, great.
no
that could happen.
no jobs for Detroiters. Come on.
But you know
Taco
what? The landlords will
Tuesday,
have some
Taco
Mexicans to
Pizza
pay
Arena.
rent, so the economy moves on.
Yeah. It's Taco Tuesday at Domino's Pizza Arena.
I'm so callous.
By the way, can you guys see the picture behind? I got Luke and
tell what
Owen
it
Wilson on the back. It's you want to guess?
Let's see. It's not.
Who's that
It's not
Chinese
Colonel
guy?
Sanders, is it?
No. All right, too much dead
Wow.
air. It's
I
Luke
know.
and
Wild
Owen
Bill
Wilson.
Hitchcock.
Luke and
KFC.
Owen Wilson playing the Kellogg brothers on Drunk History for Drunk History Detroit.
They look like they're on their phones though, and like
They are. The senior Kellogg brother is calling the younger brother. He's like, "Hey, dude, you can quit that shitty broom factory you're trying to start and come work for me at the asylum." Because the older Kellogg brother ran the asylum. The younger Kellogg brother was the one that went there and invented cornflakes. Are you guys familiar with the story?
Yeah, to like decrease the sexual urges of crazy people or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. The older Kellogg brother, you couldn't have sugar, alcohol, or sex, and that was the way to cure you from your illness when you stayed at the asylum.
That is
So-
my illness.
The younger brother was trying to develop. Oh, and you couldn't eat meat either. That was the whole point of the story, because the younger brother was trying to develop
Again, she's still
some
not.
vegetarian dishes, and he left the bread out overnight, and the moldy bread, when pressed, turned into cornflakes. So he invented cornflakes. And there was a whole battle over the cornflakes, and the younger brother wanted to add sugar to the cornflakes.
Now wait a
and
minute.
sell 'em.
Wait a minute.
They're
Who the hell
great.
No, hold on. Who makes bread out of corn? Nobody.
Well, yeah,
No.
Mexicans, Native Americans.
Those are called tortilla
called-
flakes.
No, it's called cornbread. You've never had cornbread before?
I'm American. I am cornbread.
Point being, the younger brother ran a broom factory and was the older brother's bitch until he invented cornflakes and fucking and said,
Then he put
"Yo,
'em in the
I
asylum."
own the Kellogg name, bitch, and I own the cornflakes, and you can fucking bow down." And they didn't talk to each other for like 20 years.
Bad move. You could have been assistant president. Just
In fact,
nail
the-
chicks with
The
cornflakes.
older brother, on his deathbed, wrote an apology to the younger brother, and he never received it until the younger brother. Until the younger brother was on his deathbed, he finally received a letter from his brother apologizing, and he said his last words are, "Why hasn't anyone ever shown me this?" And he died right there. That's a true story. I don't know why you're laughing, because that's not really that funny.
No,
It's actually-
it's beautiful.
Why didn't anybody
It's
tell me?
We need to reenact that. I think that would be a great reenactment.
Well, that's the
I
whole
like
point of
your
drunk
head.
history. That's what they do. But
We should do something like that, like explain a have like drunk article time. So
Yeah,
that's what I do
man.
every fucking week, Zach.
Yeah, what is
Not all
I was gonna say, Hey,
G-Dub,
by the way,
I want to know the history of the Pop-Tart now. Can you get the history of the Pop-Tart?
Next week,
I know what that
we
is.
can't do all the breakfast foods in one episode. You know, you gotta spread it out. You know,
I'm pretty sure that's.
you gotta give the people what they want. You know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's when you have sex with a cheerleader. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you pop
Speaking of
Pop-Tarts,
Pop-Tarts, not to stray too
Sex
far from what we're talking about here, but they have pumpkin Pop-Tarts, by the way, right now.
Sounds good.
Highly recommended pumpkin Pop-Tart, actually.
Dude, white girls love pumpkin Pop-Tarts.
And
I don't
I
know.
love
pumpkin
fun. You
lattes.
get like pumpkin condoms.
They taste better in Ugg boots.
But they also like when the weasel goes pop.
Yeah, okay.
I think at 7-Eleven they just go around and tag everything with pumpkin at the beginning of it and just
Yeah, right.
race
Yeah.
off the door.
All right, so speaking of white girls, Urban Outfitters, I think, Ray, you
That
posted
doesn't
this.
sound right.
They did?
Oh,
you mean
about
Kent State?
the Kent State clothing line on
Let's
Urban
just talk about
Outfitters.
that episode that none of you guys wanted to do.
Oh, you guys already talked about this?
Yeah, but it's okay. We could discuss it again. It'd be nice to talk
You
in a
didn't take
large
it. You
group.
didn't take it down Wunderlist. That's why. So I didn't know you already talked about it.
We
Well,
took things off Wonderlist one time since we started doing the show like 2 years ago.
Hey, did you guys see what I put up there? I need some help. I had a Twitter account years ago, and then Chris Lezak was like my first friend. I'm like, this is dumb. So I got rid of it. But apparently, I gotta get a new account because this Secretary of State has a Twitter feed. I know he's a douchebag, and they're posting photos of like bombings and dead Arabs and shit that were killing and stuff.
Sounds
mean-
like right up your alley.
I know I could
Scotty.
deal with that.
Scotty, I want to give you my Twitter account. It's called Blame Nancy Grace. In the photograph. We're friends, I think, for a minute. It's Nancy Grace with the fucking like burning flames and devil souls behind her. I will give you the password and username, and you can have it, man. I don't have time to do anything with it.
How many
No,
followers
neither
do you
do I.
got?
What's that?
You got a lot of people like following you?
You know what? I think I only had like 3 because I made it when I was drunk. Like I seriously got drunk and photoshopped a picture of Nancy Grace with the fucking devil horns and flames behind her. Like I spent all this time on it, you know.
Dude,
It
I'm
probably
surprised. I'm
would've
surprised
been-
the handle blame Nancy Grace was still available.
Well, you know what? It actually became a big hashtag for a while, and I didn't even know what any of this shit was. But I like when I first saw the Blame Nancy Grace thing on Reddit, I'm like, all right, if I'm ever gonna have a Twitter, it should be right now. So I fucking made it, photoshopped the picture of Nancy Grace right away, and fucking, I had a few friends. One of them was actually a famous author or something. But I don't know. I haven't posted anything on it in months. I don't doubt if any of the people still follow me.
Hey,
or
but
whatever.
I just want you to know you've inspired me. My Twitter account's going to be ISIS campaign advisor. It's gonna be like Obama with flames behind him.
You definitely need to follow the State Department then, because that would be hilarious if ISIS campaign advisor was following the State Department.
You see the
God.
latte salute
God.
today that they're making
Oh
fun of?
yeah,
The what?
The latte
so
salute.
Semper
I guess
Latte.
Obama was walking past some Marines.
Oh yeah, he did that.
And he was holding a latte in his salute hand, and he just saluted with the latte in his hand. And everyone's like calling him a fucking dirtbag for it and whatnot.
You know, I don't think it was a latte.
Terrorist.
I think it was whatever Muslims drank.
Zach, you're in the Navy, right? If
Yeah.
you're in the armed forces of any kind, is there any responsibility of the senior officer to salute a lower officer?
No, they have no. They do not have to even acknowledge you exist. So,
You know,
So
I mean, they
those
can
guys,
bump
chief
into
of
you.
all the armed forces.
Here's the rule: even if they bump into you, the junior person has to say, "I'm sorry" or "Excuse me." You know, even if it was their fault. You know, so.
sounds like me and my girlfriend. I'm like, sorry, honey. Please don't stab me. in the
No,
back.
but you know, and people also have to remember, Obama is he's the commander in chief, but he's also a civilian, And so he doesn't have to salute because he is not. Yeah, he is in charge of the military, but he is not himself in the military. So that's something that
It's funny, the biggest
we have
job
to
in the
remember.
military is a civilian job.
Yeah, and the another thing, he's not the only one who has fucked up salutes before. There's a real famous picture with George Bush Jr. holding his dog and trying to salute at the same time while he's holding his dog.
Yeah, I'm looking at that photo right now, actually. Yeah.
And
You know,
the first president to salute a soldier was Reagan, right?
um,
I think he was the first one to ever even salute.
I don't know about that because George
Well-
Washington used to be
You mean on
I mean,
camera?
a lot of them were officers in the military. I think like half of the presidents were officers at one point in the military. So
Well, you know who doesn't give a shit? The guys who are so thankful
Me?
that all they have to fucking do is stand next to a helicopter and watch this idiot get off a fucking plane, you know?
yeah,
It was like, just don't, I don't give a shit if you salute me or not. I'm half asleep and I'm hammered. I just fucking
Yeah.
played tennis with your oldest daughter. I don't give a shit.
You know, it's funny, my dad was a sniper, and he guarded, I think it was Hubert Humphrey, vice president, when he came over to Korea for peace talks. He said he was the only one that was sober. Everybody else was on heroin and fucking weed, drinking. Literally, and their job was to guard the vice
Wait,
president.
your dad was the only one sober, or Hubert Humphrey was the only one sober?
My dad said he was
Oh.
the only one sober, but I don't know if by sober he meant he only had a few beers and a couple joints. Because, sober meant something different in the 60s. Just like Dennis Leary said, man, we didn't have rehab. Rehab was a six-pack and a joint for the weekend. You know?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think
Anyway,
it's such
what was the point of that? I'm not sure.
well, it's such a non-issue. Yet idiots are making a big deal about it, and you know what? It's sort of, I don't know if you guys remember a couple weeks ago, Obama wore a tan-colored suit to a press hearing or a press conference, and everyone's like, "Oh, what's he wearing a tan-colored suit for?
Yeah,
That's
I
so
remember seeing that.
inappropriate. It's not business professional. Blah blah blah." And everyone's like, it's a suit, right? And he was wearing a tie, and it's actually a really expensive Armani tan suit. So I don't know why everyone's getting their panties in a bunch,
Well,
I
I hate to be serious, like uber serious for a second, but like, I mean, that's the shit they're arguing over, and the people that they're arguing about are paid for.
Hey,
Like,
you guys.
millions and billions of dollars.
Anybody's
We don't
pissing
talk
and moaning about that. Seriously, go to Google and type in Reagan tan suit, Clinton tan suit, Bush tan suit. Tons of photos. I'm looking at them right now.
Yeah.
What about,
The difference is the only difference is their skin tone was a little lighter.
Okay, that's what I was
What
just going
about
to say. That Alan,
President
you hit the nail on the
Biden?
head. What happens is Obama looks blacker when he's wearing a tan
And
suit.
light suit. I got pictures right now of Reagan in a tan suit right now. I'm looking right at him.
He might have Ebola. Unreal.
And that's
You know,
what
I wa-
people's problems is that he looks too black, and once he starts looking black, people realize, oh, he's not.
He doesn't-
reminds me of all the
He doesn't
problems.
pass the paper bag test.
Yeah.
You know what, guys?
Important,
There's one
important to
thing.
have the brown paper bag
Yeah.
test, where if you're darker than a brown
There's-
paper bag, you can get in a movie.
Yeah.
I've been watching for years English League soccer. It's like Premier League. It's like, I don't know how it happened, but that's what I watch, even more than the NFL. And
Next thing you know, you like
Europeans-
donuts.
the Europeans are so far, like, so much more racist than us. Like, I see a really black guy score a goal, and I go crazy. And there's some fans that literally, like, crazy shit.
Well,
you know?
yeah,
Even
I
people on their
remember-
own team, like, get that and out of here. Even if it helped them win the game. Even if, he's too black, all sorts of crazy shit. Like, we're in the
remember-
60s in America.
I remember Italy was having problems this past summer with people throwing bananas on the field.
Oh, dude, that happens to
For one of the
happens
players.
all the time.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Wally, you're right. Europe, for as progressive as Europe is, they still really are behind the times when it comes to racism. But they've also haven't had to deal with They never had a civil rights movement like we did. You know, they never had sort of this white guilt laid
That's
upon
because they
them.
didn't have black people.
Exactly, because slavery was never
They
brought
just
to their
killed.
continent.
Yeah,
So,
no, they just killed them really far away and took all their minerals.
yeah, and allowed them to be transported to the Americas, but not to Europe. You know, so
Sure.
They had their own poor, like, proletariat class to, like, or plebeian class to do all the work. They didn't have to, like, ship black people in.
Sans couleurs.
well, but see, now what's happening?
Yeah,
They're having
all
a huge
died of
influx.
disease.
They're having a huge influx of Middle Easterners and Eastern Europeans move into Western Europe at a rate that's much higher than has ever happened before, because the EU has much more lax boundary border laws. And now you see in France there's a huge backlash. I remember about 3 years ago, France deported 30,000 Romas, gypsies, if you will, and moved them back to Romania. And the thing is, almost none of them were actually from Romania at the point, because they had been born and raised in France. However, France doesn't have birthright laws like we do here in the United States, where if you're born in France, you're French.
And there's
Become
something
France.
that doesn't exist here that is incredibly alive and dangerously vibrant now at this time for the next election cycle is far-right anti-immigration parties are like huge. Like, you know, granted there's Republicans who want the border stopped, which makes sense if you're at war, which supposedly we are, and we don't do anything about our border. They're like far-right groups might win their presidencies and their huge seats in parliaments, and not just France. There's Le Pen. There's even in England, even in Switzerland, in Italy. Like,
Yeah,
their racism is
the
very strong.
nationalist parties are becoming very powerful in there, and it's sort of a backlash to the EU, if you will, and seeing a lot of these. Well, what they're seeing is they're saying, okay, there's dark-colored skinned people coming into our countries, competing for jobs with us, and we don't like that, so we need to nationalize. You know, in the United States, we went through that, you know, with the KKK and the Civil Rights Movement, and you know, so we're overcoming racism at a much faster rate than I think the rest of the world is.
They took our jobs.
Oh, nice. Everyone look at Al's picture right now. He's got the.
No, that's not me. Somebody else put that up. Who was that?
That's
right.
me. That's me, dude. Look at me. Look at me,
Look at
everybody.
you,
I'm talking.
Yeah, look at all those tan.
Look at all those tan man. None of them are black though, but look how horrible George.
Look at how pasty them suckers are.
Like.
Holy
All
crap.
of them are Christian as well.
Well, I think George Bush Jr. is wearing the same suit his dad wore. It was upside down. It looks
Yeah,
identical.
it must be tailored a little bit. Then. Huh.
Man, Clinton doesn't have a button.
Yeah.
He's ready for the BJ to come in.
Yep.
But you know you can't hate.
Yeah.
Hey, no,
Man was
if
busy.
Barack was wearing,
The closest one to the door, the intern, you know?
if he's wearing a purple suit and a hat, then I think we got an issue.
Yeah. His zoo. Yeah. Yeah. Or those suits that they're cut all the way down to their knees, like when the NFL accept their draft.
You know, Monica Lewinsky, she just had the closest desk to the Oval Office, I think. You know, like you opened up his door, hey, you with dark hair. You know? He's a busy man. He's president. He did a lot while he was in office.
Yeah.
Hey, G-Dub, I'm looking at your Nancy Grace page on Twitter. That is awesome.
Do I have any followers still?
You have one follower.
One follower. Well, you're gonna have two by the end of the show, because I'm gonna go on and follow that.
I'm following it too, especially if Wally's going to be handling it.
Yeah. You know what? I'll just post the password
somebody
and
steal my
username on
name already?
Facebook to everybody, and y'all can do what you want with it.
Hey, you know what? What if I started an ISIS campaign advisor like Facebook page and just put up like dead ISIS people that?
I think there already are. I think there already is.
Well,
I
I
don't
gotta
know.
find out.
Facebook has much more strict rules than
And Twitter.
Twitter does.
Well, I
Or,
actually don't want a fatwa on my head now that they literally have a caliphate. So
Yeah.
I should probably keep my Sunday.
you do live a little
Fucking
close to, you do live in the same state as Dearborn. That fatwa could follow you really fast. So.
Oh, only one person here might understand this, but I'll say it.
Yes.
Gary, remember my Uncle Dan? Oh, wow, that was funny.
Yeah, tell these
And,
guys about Uncle Dan.
So my Uncle Dan lived
True
in Dearborn,
patriot.
and he was a carpenter, pure American, and when 9/11 happened, he put in the back of his really nasty-looking beat-up pickup truck, fuck Arabs, for like 3 weeks, and he didn't get shot. He's like, it was pretty quiet down there. Dude, you should not have done that. Just saying. I mean, purely on moral grounds, but like, it is a little surprising.
Yeah.
Scott is
Well,
actually the liberal of the family. He doesn't believe in
That's true.
segregation.
I would not mind Norwegian tax laws in certain situations. Well, Sweden maybe more. So let me keep my thoughts.
All right, gentlemen. I think we've kind of whittled our way down here and wasted a perfectly good hour. I think next week we should get together again and talk more about things that don't really matter to us. What do you guys think?
I
Sound
like
a
it.
plan?
I want to
like
know
it.
more about the. I want to know more about the German sex industry.
The chair.
So get on there.
Absolutely.
Ale, get on it.
Excellent.
All right, gentlemen. You guys have a great week. We'll see you on Wednesday.
All
All
right.
right.
See you later.
All right.
All
Bye.
right. Bomb Germany.